Okay, I'm using this as the chat now. You'll find a new one, Sal. Yay. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm back, people. Hopefully, you'll follow me on this one rather than the other one because that software glitched. Yeah, sorry about the problems. Yeah, my internet went down. The house internet went down entirely, which really messed things around. So I'm going to continue with my best list. Triple R, SS Jerome and Julie's movie. Best action film you're going to see this year. No two ways about it. It's about two Indian guys under colonial Britain, who is one of whom's an undercover cop, the other one who is a local freedom fighter trying to find his sister, who was kidnapped by the local British governor. The action scenes in this are next level wonderful, and it's got a mythic underpinning, which turns these two guys almost into superheroes. Friday says, I went to grab a coffee and you're gone. Back again. Yep, back again. I'm just using the webcam and the mic as by themselves. I'm going to paste the two halves of this together from the previous live stream and this one. I'll re-release them after the live stream, probably a day or two after, because yeah, this all went a bit west on me, which I don't like at all. So yeah, thanks for everyone for coming back in. So if you anybody's seen Triple R, because if you haven't, you're really in for a lot of fun on that one. It's subtitled, of course, but geez, it's powerful. There are action scenes you haven't seen anything like in cinema. There's a scene where a wagon basically drifts into the compound for the British governor, and a tarpaulin falls off the side of the wagon, and all of these cages on the wagon open, and there are like tigers and wolves and bears leaping in slow motion out of this wagon to attack the British soldiers. It is crazy, mad, beautifully done, good stuff. And I like it a lot. It really is an action movie that you can rewatch. And yeah, it's Triple R was such a lot of fun. Oh yeah, Jackass, you got to see it. Totally mad stuff. It's got songs, it's got dances, it's got a dance off between British guys and the Indian guys, which is next level good. It's one of the best dance sequences I've seen in a movie. It's got the rescue of a little boy after a train going over a bridge explodes, and they're rescuing a little boy out of the water, which is covered in flames, in a really imaginative way. The action scenes in this are just crazy good, and you really should check it out. The next one I've got is Everything Everywhere All at Once. That is a great movie. If you're into cinema, Everything Everywhere All at Once, where um, a woman who runs a laundry with her husband ends up going into the multiverse. Uh, and it's Everything Everywhere All at Once. I love so much because apart from everything, apart from the movie itself, which is wonderful, and the pure wonderfulness of Michelle Yeoh and Jamie Lee Curtis is in it as well. It's also got Ki Hui Kwan, who played Short Round in the Indiana Jones movies as an adult, playing Evelyn, the woman played by Michelle Yeoh's husband, Wayman. And his new career, his like revived career as an actor, is crazily good. Yeah, it is proper science fiction funny, absolutely. And it's got these beautiful universes they go to. Like there's a universe where all human beings have hot dog fingers. And there's another one which looks exactly like Wong Kar Wai's In the Mood for Love, where Wayman and Evelyn are playing the two characters played by Maggie Chung and the other guy in Wong Kar Wai's movie. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah, same director as Swiss Army Man. Fantastic. Yeah, thanks for that, Sal. But yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's a movie that's got a lot of heart to it. It's got different layers of meaning. It's about the immigrant experience, people moving to a new country for a better life, and how that affects it. It's a beautiful film that's in love with cinema. It has a character with some very severe kinks, but it doesn't kink shame you, which is kind of nice as well. And yeah, it's a movie that I may grow to love. I like it a lot at the moment, but I think if I watch Everything Everywhere All at Once one or two more times, it may be a movie that I love. Can I explain the ending of Men? No, because I haven't seen it yet. But well, I probably will review it, and when I do, Jackass, I will explain it to you. But that's the next one. Let's see. I'll go to Amsterdam, the David O. Russell movie Amsterdam, which has Christian Bale in it, John David Washington. It's got Margot Robbie. It's got a whole bunch of other people in it. Robert De Niro's in it as well, and it has this weird little kind of cul-de-sac of American history in the 1930s, where there was an attempt to overthrow the government of Franklin D. Roosevelt and put in a retired army general as a kind of fascist dictator in the style of Mussolini and Hitler. It was a real conspiracy by billionaires at the time. And David O. Russell's movie Amsterdam tells this story from the viewpoint of some kind of marginalized characters, World War One veterans, two World War One soldiers, one white, one black, played by Christian Bale and John David Washington, and the nurse who looked after them during the war. And they had a menage a trois in Amsterdam after the war when he was recovering. They got involved with British and American intelligence and end up being crucial in stopping a fascist dictatorship in America in the 1930s. It's a great film. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's Christian Bale is very good in it. Margot Robbie's good. John David Washington's good. De Niro does a really nice piece as the general they're trying to get to lead this fascist dictatorship that was really in real life planned in America. Yes, Medley Butler testified in Congress. Absolutely, FG. And it's a beautiful film. It made no money. It really failed in the box office. But I like it. I like the characters involved. Anya Taylor-Joy turns up in this one again as well, and Rami Malek. But Amsterdam's kind of a hidden gem in a sense. It looks at it can only be seen through the lens of the recent American president, the one before the current one, and how very wealthy powers that be influenced his rise to power. Yeah, it's a really on point after what's happening in Germany. Absolutely, Germany. Yeah, there were a German prince just tried to take over the German government. Failed miserably because he was a dickhead. But that happened in the last week. So really weird stuff. But yeah, it's I did like Amsterdam. I bought it on a whim. I thought, yeah, I'm going to try this one. It's got a good cast, and yeah, it's worth checking out. Bullet Train's the next one. Bullet Train, which is a really nice Brad Pitt movie set on a Shinkansen in Japan, going between Tokyo and Kyoto, with a bunch of assassins trying to assassinate each other and get a MacGuffin, like a suitcase full of money, which is supposed to go to a deadly guy who took over the Japanese Yakuza, played by Michael Shannon. It's one of those hyperkinetic action films, which I like a lot. It's Brad Pitt playing against type in a sense, because he's playing a guy who doesn't like confrontation, but who is a hired assassin. It's yeah, if you haven't seen Bullet Train, it's one of those ones that it's going to turn up on streaming soon if it hasn't already. And it's just hyperkinetic action fun, and I liked it a lot. Yeah, absolutely. It's Bullet Train. A middle-aged geek girl hasn't seen it yet. We've got a copy of it on physical media, but it really is a lot of fun and a great action film to enjoy and just groove on. I hit the microphone, which is always a good thing for the people listening. But yeah, I like Bullet Train a lot because I was in the mood for that kind of thing. There are times when you go, okay, I just want a good, fun action film that doesn't insult my intelligence, but goes balls to the wall with the action, and that's exactly what happened with that one. Let's see, Prey, the Predator sequel, the one that's set in the 1700s among First Nations American communities. Yeah, I like Prey. I like it because it's got small scale but high stakes. I like the idea of particularly a young First Nations woman who's going against gender roles, going up against the predator, and a particularly savage kind of, a less sophisticated predator, because you got to remember this is 300 odd years ago, and her going up against it when nobody else believes it exists. And this predator is kind of almost like a medieval armored predator. Really works well for me. That movie has some fantastic action sequences. It has intelligent action in it. It has characters you like and believe in, and it's kind of breakthrough film in that sense. It's a sequel that didn't announce itself as a sequel, and I think that may be a very, very, very smart move. But I did like Prey a lot and enjoyed it when I saw it. Next up, we get to Jordan Peele's Nope, which I'm not going to tell you much about. If you haven't seen Nope, you don't want to get spoilers. It's about a guy who trained. I'll kind of keep it vague, but I'll try to talk about it. It's about a guy who trains horses, whose whose father gets killed by an unexplained phenomenon, and he finds that his ranch is kind of ground zero at something that's in the clouds, a flying saucer like something, which is predatory and incredibly dangerous. Nope, I'm not going high oil, Greg. Sorry about the hassles. The whole household internet crashed and we had to go back and do this one. But yeah, Mr. Diaz Jones, yeah, I quite fancy watching Amsterdam. I like the look of it. Yeah, give Amsterdam a go. Absolutely. A bit of a hidden gem. Yep, Jackass, yeah, very different take on UFOs. Things are not what they seem. And the movie is partly about people's expectations of what they observe. But Nope works. And it's got some really good pop culture reference in it. There's an Akira style motorcycle skid in the movie, which I liked a lot because you go, oh, an Akira skid. And if you don't know what that is, you will by the end of the movie. Really, Daniel Kaluuya is really great in it. I like the fact that it brings back people like Michael Winslow. And yeah, very different take on things. And I like what Jordan Peele's doing with his career and the movies he's making. I think that his reboot of The Twilight Zone was a mistake because there was only one good episode in that. But yeah, Prey did redeem the Predator franchise, Friday. You're absolutely right. Because it took us away from the expectations of jacked men fighting the Predator. And I think that was like a necessary diversion to widen the franchise as well. Intellectual properties can get very, very inbred in their own world. And you sometimes need something that takes things wider. And I think that Prey definitely does that for the Predator franchise. Yeah, the Twilight Zone was yeah a real disappointment. But I think that Jordan Peele's back on track. I'll watch what he puts out next for the simple fact that I like the fact that he subverts expectations while still catering to a certain kind of audience. And we need more filmmakers that are doing that. The last one I've got for you is Glass Onion, the sequel to Knives Out. We've got Daniel Craig back as Benoit Blanc, the world's best detective. And we get to find out a bit more about Benoit Blanc. And for a start, no, I kind of like the ending. I think the ending worked. Digital pollution. So we can agree to disagree on that. But Glass Onion worked for me really, really well. I like the backstory on Benoit Blanc that we get. We get the fact that he's bored shitless by lockdowns. It starts in 2020, and he's sitting in his bathtub playing computer games on Zoom with some very famous people. We get to see his partner, which is a nice little cameo role. And Blanc ends up on a Greek island with a whole bunch of billionaires and influencers because the billionaire running things, played by Edward Norton, has created a murder mystery. And ends up being the person to solve this murder mystery. In the meantime, people are murdered. Great cast. You've got Dave Bautista in there, Janelle Monáe. You've got excuse me. You've got Kate Hudson. Really good ensemble. And the takeaway from this one is Craig's accent gets better. His Mississippi accent gets better, Hunter Scales, in the second movie. And the great takeaway from this is the movie is a scathing, hilarious criticism of the idea that billionaires are smart people. There's something in society now where you can be a billionaire and be a total fucking idiot. And the billionaire played by Edward Norton ends up being that. There's a murder mystery. There's somebody pretending to be somebody else. And the mystery itself is really, really interesting there. And it all takes place on this Greek island with a big house that this billionaire's built with a glass dome on the top of it, which looks like a glass onion. Hilariously funny. The murders are interesting. It's I'm going to watch it again when it comes out on Netflix at the end of the month, because from what I understand from people who've seen it more than once, you get more from it the second time you watch it than the first time you watch it. And it's worth seeing. I saw it in the cinemas. I saw it in Gold Class, and it really is a great, fun watch. And I think it's going to be a big hit on Netflix when it comes out. Got that limited cinema release, which I watched. But yeah, apart from anything else, it's massively entertaining, and it's kind of rebooted that genre of the Agatha Christie style murder mystery in the same way that the Kenneth Branagh Hercule Poirot movies did. Yeah, you've got to see it, Hunter Scales. Absolutely, it's beautiful, and there's some beautiful production design in it as well, and it kind of takes the piss out of influencers and billionaires and social media and perceptions of people. And like Knives Out, at the core of it, it's got a lot of heart. And I think that may be the secret sauce in the Knives Out movies that Rian Johnson's doing, is that there's a humane heart at the center of the mystery, in the same way there was with Anna de Armas's character in Knives Out. And that really does work for me. So yeah, it's been a pretty good year for those kind of movies. There are a lot of good movies I didn't see, and I'll probably watch later on, but they're the good ones I've seen. Now, I've got 5 older movies that I watched for the first time and that I really enjoyed. Sip of water again. Oh, absolutely. Jackass, it does take the piss out of Elon Musk in the best possible way. Glass Onion. And I think the people who are evaluative of Mr. Musk's takeover of Twitter. Yep. Yeah, they are putting it on paid services. I think that Netflix is doing a lower tier pay service where you do get some ads in it, but you still get to watch the movies. That might be an option. But absolutely, Glass Onion, high recommend. So I went back and dived into some older movies, 2 of which I got from Imprint in their wonderful releases. But one of them was recommended, I think it might have been, I'm not sure which famous movie director suggested. It could have been Scorsese, it could have been somebody else. But there's a Julien Duvivier movie from 1937 called Carnet de Bal, which I like a lot. It's about a woman who is in her 40s. She's middle aged by 1930 standards. She's a wealthy. She was a socialite, and her husband dies unexpectedly, and she starts reevaluating her life. And while she's going through all of her stuff, she finds a dance card from a dance that she went to and she really loved when she was single and kind of a debutante. And then she goes on this quest to find the men who danced with her during that ball and see what actually happened to them. Oh, let's hope not. But yeah, so this woman goes on a quest. No, I didn't. This woman goes on a quest to find these men and find out what happened to them. And there are an incredibly wide range of things. One become a selfish mountaineer. Another one's a doctor who performs abortions in a slum. I need a better ISP. I may need a new router. Who knows? But Carne de Bal is a breathtakingly good movie with a great concept. And is it happening again? Okay. Yeah, Rubber-Proof Fence is my second one. 1998, an Australian movie directed by Bruce Beresford, based on a true story from the 1930s, when Aboriginal children were taken away from their parents and put into schools, way away from where they lived and way away from their people and their country. And it's about the story of two young girls who travel 1,000 kilometres or 1,000 miles across the Western Australian desert to get back home after they were stolen from their families. And it's a heartbreaking story about disenfranchisement, about First Nations people. You learn a lot about Indigenous culture, and it's brilliant. And at the end of the movie, you get to see the women as old women walking across their country and talking about it. But Rubber-Proof Fence, incredibly powerful movie. I'm not sure why I hadn't seen it before now, but it's a tragic story and it has a lot of guts and it's got some really great actors in it. Deborah Mailman turns up in there as well. You've got Kenneth Branagh playing the guy who's in charge of Aboriginal welfare in the 1930s, based on a true character. And it's a monstrous story, a true story, and a story about courage. It's probably one of my three greatest movies about courage. If you haven't seen Rubber-Proof Fence, you need to see it. It's a movie that you might need to be in the right mood for, but incredibly powerful. Yeah. Hi, Damien. Yep, it is an incredibly brilliant film. The fourth one, there's a third one, sorry, can't count. The third one I've got is The Counterfeit Trader, directed by George Seaton. World War II action film, filmed in 1962 with William Holden, sorry, and Lily Palmer. It's a crazily powerful movie about a Norwegian businessman, Swedish Norwegian, I'm not sure which, or it could be Danish. I forgot the details. Who is playing a double agent during World War II. Um, he's selling coal to Germany when Germany is ramping up its militarism, but still giving information to the British. And Lily Palmer plays his contact in Germany, an aristocratic woman. Really strong little action film that's got forgotten in amongst the crowd of World War II action films that we had in the 1960s. A lot of it was filmed on the locations where the real story happened. And yeah, it's a powerful little film. And I enjoyed it, and I'm glad that Imprint put out a decent copy of it as well. Yeah, Mr. Diasgenzi, I saw a Rubber Fence a few years ago. It's powerful and sad. Yeah, Keith F., you got to see The Counterfeit Trader is a great film in that kind of genre. The other Imprint one I've got is an obscure spy film from the 1960s. 1968. Give me a moment again. It stars George Peppard, Inga Stevens, and Orson Welles, and it's House of Cards, which it's got a really nice Francis Lai soundtrack. I like the soundtrack on this one a lot. But it's about an American boxer played by George Peppard, who ends up being kind of a carer for a young boy of an aristocratic French family. And the backdrop of this is a fascist takeover of Europe by a mysterious organization, the leader of whom is played by Orson Welles. And yeah, it's a really interesting little kind of quirky spy drama, filmed in Europe. So you got those beautiful European locations as they were in the 1960s. But I like House of Cards a lot because it's kind of very left field and very kind of unusual. Max von Sydow's in it as well. Really interesting film that Imprint found and put out a good release of it. So that one I liked a lot as well. The last one is a crazy zombie film from 1980 called Nightmare City. It's an Italian one directed by Umberto Lenzi. Kind of right in that sweet spot of VHS era, 1980s crazy zombie action. Um, a, unnamed city gets a toxic waste spill and it starts turning people into ravaging zombie-like creatures. Lots of gore and guts, balls to the wall action, done on a relatively small budget. It feels a little bit like those police thrillers that Italy was doing at the time. It's got a lot of the same energy as that. Yeah, zombies with machine guns, absolutely. Yep, I agree, Damien. House of Cards is underrated, but Nightmare City I like a lot. It's just mad. I picked up the Arrow video version of it on Blu-ray. Just one of those speculative buys you do when you've got a few bucks spare. And that one really, really blew me away. Horror Geek did a show on the movie. Jackass, yeah, absolutely. Nightmare City. If you haven't seen it, you got to locate a copy of it. And if you're one of those people who likes 70s, 80s gory horror, and none of it's particularly realistic, but some of it's pretty shocking. But that one really did it for me. I liked it a lot, and for me, it was a lot of fun. So people, okay, late night, yeah, absolutely late night movies. So here's your choice. I'm going to give you guys a choice. Do you want the stuff that subscribers and supporters of the channel sent me? I've got a couple of things that were sent to me by a couple of people, one of whom's on the chat. Do you want the movie books that I picked up lately? Or do you want my worst list? What do you want first? I will wait for the chat to decide. And hopefully somebody will give me an answer on this. Hunter Scale says books. Jackass says worst. Books came up first, so I'll do books. We've only got a couple of them. Lee Lovery says books that convinces me. Now, remember a couple of videos ago, I talked about Lost Horizon, the 1937 version of Lost Horizon. The really great Frank Capra film with Ronald Colman in it. I'll get to the worst list, Damien, don't worry. Nightmare City was taken off. It was one of those horror ones that got taken off the thing in America. So anyway, Lost Horizon. I had an old copy of Lost Horizon, the novel, that fell apart because massive paper doesn't last forever. And so I got myself another copy of it. Yeah, Video Nasties, absolutely. So I got myself another copy of the novel, which is a pan release. But this one is unusual because this book was never sold. It was never sold at all. It was available only in Singapore. Now, you know the Lost Horizon where the people go to Shangri-La. This is presented with the compliments of the Shangri-La Hotel in Singapore. It was never for sale. It is purely given away to guests in the 1970s in the Shangri-La Hotel in Singapore. And on the back, it's got the Shangri-La Hotel. It's a great readable copy. So, this one's in good nick. So it's a readable copy, but it's a copy of a movie-based novel, which was never sold to anybody. It is a treasure hunter, absolutely. I love it. I like the cover art too. I think the cover art's quite good. But I went on eBay and I was looking around for copies of it, and I just happened to find that one. I didn't quite understand the nature of the book until I got it home. It had some things in the eBay listing that mentioned it, but yeah, I like the idea of you go into a hotel and the hotel gives you a book. There's something wonderful about that. No, the songs are shit in the remake of Lost Horizon. I'm tempted to do a 24-hour movie marathon for the channel of bad movies. And if I do, I will watch the 1973 version of Lost Horizon. The other book I got, which I'm enjoying a lot, and I've only just started it, it's been released in the last couple of months. Quentin Tarantino's Cinema Speculation, where he talks about his history of movies. Damien says he's got a very nice 1935 hardcover of the Book of Lost Horizon. Cool. This one's great because it talks about Quentin Tarantino's personal journey from when he was a kid watching movies inappropriately in cinemas. It talks about Diamonds Are Forever. It talks about Dirty Harry. It talks about Joe, the movie with Pete Boyle in it. I'm just enjoying going through this one, and it's a kind of love letter to 1960s and 1970s cinema. Yeah, I find it interesting. A lot of people don't realize Shangri-La is fictional, not mythical. Shangri-La is in all of us. But yeah, I'm enjoying this one. Not too expensive if you buy it on eBay if you're interested in books. Sorry, if you buy it on Amazon. I bought it on Amazon. But I'm really enjoying this one. And I'm going to dip into it in the same way that I enjoyed the other Tarantino book, which I've bought. And I've actually got bookmarked. His novelization expansion on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The Lost Horizon book wasn't expensive. I think it was like $15 on eBay Australian. Look around eBay, you'll find a copy of the book if you're interested in it, and hopefully you can find a good one. But the Tarantino books are great fun to read, and I can read a chapter and then kind of go away and read something else, and then come back and read another chapter of the Tarantino books. But yeah, I recommend them. They're very much written in the style that Tarantino himself speaks. But I really like what he does with that, and the way it's kind of free form, but it comes back to its main subject at various times. So it is kind of hyperkinetic and a little bit manic, but Cinema Speculation. If you're interested in 1970s cinema, particularly, you'll enjoy that. 60s and 70s cinema. Yeah, that one's a definite recommend from me. So I'm going to do this now because I've got Damien on the chat, and Damien McGee, who's on the chat, sent me a present. On the front, it says Universal Monsters. Oh, it's got Universal one. It's an Australian stamp set of all the Universal movie monsters, which I didn't know existed, but Damien sent me, and he also sent Kim Newman, a copy of this, totally unexpectedly, as a gift. And both Middle-Aged Geek Girl and I love the Universal movie monsters. And yeah, this is beautiful. Let's see what we've got. I'll read them off. Wolfman, we've got a Dracula one, Frankenstein, another Dracula one, another Frankenstein one. Wolfman, another Frankenstein, another Wolfman, and a Dracula, Frankenstein again, Dracula, and the Wolfman, all in different denominations. Fantastic. That's the whole inside of it. Totally unexpected. And to be honest with you, Damien has supported the channel in so many ways, and I really appreciate it, mate. And if I get to Perth again, I definitely have to catch up and hang out. I send my copy of Big Man Japan. Yeah, if you go to the channel, there is definitely a link to send things. I'm always happy to do that. Now, the other thing I got is from Ali Powers, who was involved in a couple of movies about a decade and a half ago. I just got to find the movies which I've misplaced here while I've been arsing around with things. There they are. Yeah, the model kits, the Aurora model kits of the classic movie monsters were fantastic. This one, Ali Powers was involved as in a minor way with these two movies. They're kind of obscure movies, but Ali sent them to me, and I appreciate that a lot. And thanks again. The two movies that I haven't watched yet. There we go. Middle-aged geek girl has supplied the mailing address. This one's called Unmade Beds, which is, let's see, a hip, dreamy vibe is augmented by a cool indie soundtrack. And yeah, it's about young love and things like that. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm definitely going to watch it because I'm interested in it. So that's one of them. The other one is a very minor horror movie, which has got a great title, really groovy title. The Scarecrow, not Scarecrow, but Scarecrow, which is Sorority Row meets the Wicker Man in a hellish tale of witchcraft and blood. Now, based on that blurb alone, you got to watch it. It's for 18 plus people, so it's got a lot of gore, guts, and who knows what else in it. But yeah, didn't know these movies existed. Got sent them by a subscriber, and thank you, Ali, for sending them to me. We'll watch them, and I will talk about them more on the channel when I watch them. But yeah, it was lovely that that happened. So they're the now I'll get to the worst movies. You want the worst movies? There are a lot of them. I watched a lot of bad movies in 2022. I'm going to bring my letterboxd up, which has some of them in it. And I'm kind of going to go with a type of movie for my worst movies rather than individual films. And yeah, there were any number of them. There were some very egregiously bad movies. So I just got to check something here. And there's a type of movie that I find really abhorrent. And I've got a list of them, so bear with me. Sorry, I'm flagging a bit towards the end of the live stream, but I'll get there. There's a kind of action film that turns up on Netflix. Not just Netflix, but Amazon does it as well. I'm not trying to say Netflix is all nasty and all bad. But there's a kind of action film where here's what I understand of the manufacture of these films. They get big name actors, pretty big name actors. They'll get Dwayne Johnson, they'll get Ryan Reynolds, they'll get the Hemsworth, and they'll make action films. And all the money, about half of the money, is to pay the actors. So they get tons and tons of big name actors, and they'll get Chris Evans in, and they'll get Ryan Reynolds. They'll also get Baby Goose in, Ryan Gosling, and they'll make an action film. And the production values won't be as high as you expect from movies of these with these actors in them, because about half the budget goes to pay for the actors, and so they make kind of lower end action films, which you're looking at the actors, you go, okay, I'm expecting good things in this movie because I've seen these guys do giant action films, and they don't. They do lower rate action films. There are movies like Day Shift, which is a vampire movie, which has Jamie Foxx in it, which is kind of ordinary. So there's that. There's another one called Spiderhead, which is science fiction, and it's got Chris Hemsworth trying to do something a little bit different, but not being entirely successful with it. There's one called The Atom Project, which is a science fiction one, which has Ryan Reynolds in it, where he goes back in time to see his younger self and to save his mother and his younger self from alien thingies. There's a kind of assassination drama called The Grey Man, where you've got Chris Evans and Ryan Reynolds going up against one another. Could be Ryan Reynolds. They're getting interchangeable. And the worst of them all is the thing which turned up on Amazon called Blacklight with Liam Neeson, which was filmed in Australia, partly. Lots of car crashes. They closed down the centre of the capital city of Australia, Canberra, to shoot some of this. The rest of it was shot here in Melbourne. And it's so cliched and by the book, and it's the worst Liam Neeson movie I've ever seen. It's Liam Neeson cashing in before he gets too old to do action films. Blacklight is a movie you should avoid at all costs. If you're a fan of action films, you're going to really hate it. And the other one, which should have been better but wasn't, is Blonde, the Marilyn Monroe kind of biopic, which was made by the same director who did Chopper, the movie about Chopper Reed with Eric Banner in it. And it's kind of like, in the worst possible way, Marilyn Monroe torture porn. It has really, really bad stuff in it. Like, you see a point of view shot from inside Marilyn Monroe's vagina while she's having an abortion. Anna de Armas is very good playing the role. The weird thing is the actress playing the role is really good, but the movie itself is really bad. Really, really bad. And good sequels are rare. It's hard to do a good sequel and to keep the magic going without just emulating the magic of a previous movie. But all of these Netflix style films, which are put out as product because they've got to have things to put on the front page of Netflix continually, are really an interesting direction for cinema to go, but not necessarily a good one. They're kind of like B pictures in the 1950s, like Audie Murphy movies or something like that, but they don't have quite the art that those movies have. Umbrella Academy is good, like Umbrella Academy. Aliens is good, but not as good as Alien. I'm not that fond of Alien because I think it emulated better films. Things like um, Planet of the Vampires, for instance, Mario Bava's movie. So I'll rewatch Alien this year as well. And yeah, I mean, there are bits of it that kind of work. The working class people in space bit works. And yes, the alien itself was shocking and transgressive and all that kind of stuff. But I'm kind of not that impressed with Ridley Scott as a director. I think there's a predictability and an ordinariness about Ridley Scott when he makes movies that are really, I'm not that in love with. Let's put it that way. But so that's basically my worst movies are a style of movie rather than a particular movie. Because I think that I looked through the list, I looked through my letterbox list, and I looked at The Grey Man. I thought, what's that movie? I can't even remember that movie. Those action films that Netflix are putting out with the big stars and the kind of lower production values slide off your memory like an egg off Teflon. And I don't want that. If I'm going to invest a couple of hours to watch a movie, I want it to stay with me a little bit. I want to be able to think about it afterwards, because that for me is part of the experience of watching movies. A lot of other people don't feel the same way, but yeah, those kind of movies do cheese me off. Just have a little sip of water again. Yeah, the Julius is good, but I think it's based on a previously existing thing. And I think Ridley Scott was always more style and substance in cinema. Yeah, Red Nose coming up. Denis Villeneuve, isn't it good? I like Dune. I like Denis Villeneuve's Dune. I think that it, even though I like the craziness of the David Lynch version, I think Villeneuve's Dune is right for the source material. So yesterday, middle-aged good girl and I went on a movie hunt in op shops, thrift stores, charity stores, whatever you want to call them. They've got different names in different markets. Noel Clooney says, one of the strangest movies from Ingmar Bergman is that I've seen is Hour of the Wolf. I only watched it once, but the uncanniness has really stuck with me. Have I seen it? No, but I want to write that one down. But yeah, Hour of the Wolf. I'll just write that down with my pen. Anybody else got pen fetishes where they just love particular kinds of pens? Because I've got a Lemmy pen here, and Lemmy do my favourite kinds of pens. So I'm going to write down Hour of the Wolf. Middle-aged good girl has written it for me. Yeah, Lemmy's rule. These are the less expensive Lemmy pens because I tend to lose the good ones. But yeah, I love Lemmy pens. Alien is a horror movie set in space, and Aliens is a science fiction movie with horror elements. Yeah, I think it was Harlan Ellison who said that Alien, the first one, is a haunted house movie, which it kind of is. And yeah, and ever since I read that, I haven't quite seen the movie in the same way again. So anyway, we went on a thrift store hunt and went around suburbs where we don't normally go on the other side of the city, and got locked in traffic. Had a very nice lunch, but I went around looking for. Then this is worth movie for me is The Haunting. See Blacklight, and you may change your mind. Alien is a slasher rather than gothic. Yeah, it's one of the ones that kind of sits between genres. And yeah, 1979, it was pretty shocking for a lot of people because they hadn't been watching everything else that came out with gore and guts in it. But yeah, Aliens, I think, works better. I think the Alien franchise has had its day. I don't want to see any more of them. I think that those movies like Pandora that Ridley Scott did more recently didn't add anything interesting to the franchise. 1963 Haunting is a million miles better. Yeah, the 1963 Haunting is great. That one, Legend of Hell House, is really good as well. The Innocence is good. There are just so many of those atmospheric movies from the early 1960s and 1970s for which I have a lot of time. Raised by Wolves sucked. Yeah, I haven't seen that. I'm not sure I'm inclined to. Went to see her when I first go out with a weightlifter friend. He almost broke my arm and he started jumping out of the air ducts. Alien is the best remake of that darn cat. Oh, don't get me started on live action 1960s Disney. I may vomit on screen. I get triggered by 1960s live action. Hey? Sorry? Okay, sorry. Yeah. Raised by Wolves is odd but extremely well done. Okay. Let's see what I got. So, yeah, basically, we went out, hit a couple of nice places. There was a really weird thrift store we went to where all they seemed to have was copies of Bridget Jones's Diary and Knocked Up and other Judd Apatow movies. It was a really weird place. I don't think I picked up any. I actually did. I picked up a couple of Blu-rays there. But I went out hunting And I found some films that I'm kind of glad I got. And I didn't have copies of them. I checked my database. Paris When It Sizzles. William Holden, Audrey Hepburn, 1962, I think it is. It deconstructs movies. This one's about a movie screenwriter who's got a weekend to write a movie that he promised to his producer, played by Noel Coward. And so he gets a typist played by Audrey Hepburn. And they run through these scenarios about this movie because he doesn't know what the movie's about. He's got a title, and the title is The Girl Who Stole the Eiffel Tower. And this one is a lot of fun. It's got great production values. It's got lots of cameos by celebrities of the time in it. Kind of fails the third act. What did I pay for this? $1.99, which is about right for these things. But I like this one. The soundtrack is solid. I think it may be a Nelson Riddle soundtrack. Is it Nelson Riddle? Yeah, it is. But if you haven't seen Paris When It Sizzles, it's a lot of fun. Tony Curtis plays a role in it as well. Gregor Arson. Who else is in there? Yeah, this one is a kind of favorite of mine because it does deconstruct movies. Paris is just weird and funny. It's real, absolutely, Damien. It's a surreal movie, but it is a lot of fun. And Tony Curtis has a lot of fun playing a secondary role in this. Speaking of Tony Curtis, as I was, ever seen The Keep? Yes, I've seen The Keep. Haven't seen it lately. I keep thinking I might rewatch it, but I haven't seen it lately. I saw it back in the day. I'm going to talk about that op shop in a moment, middle-aged geek girl. Yeah, yeah, what is it? The Manitou. Manitou is a weird movie. But I picked up a NTSC copy of The Great Race. Again for $1.99. It's got a few extras in it, but it's only on DVD, but for $2 you're going to give it a go. So I've got that. I know this is a favourite film of a couple of friends of mine, including Paul Polton. I'm going to rewatch that one because it's a bit silly. Jack Lemmon, Natalie Wood, Tony Curtis. $2. It's worth it. It's worth buying it, even if you give it away as a gift. Oh, yeah, so you can see on the back that there's a few extras there, which is not bad for a DVD. But yeah, Dr. Fate and then the Great Leslie. Who plays his assistant? I'm just trying to think. Dorothy Provo, Larry Storch is in it, Ross Martin. Marvin Kaplan's in there as well. Peter Falk. Love Peter Falk. Keenan Wynn. It did inspire the next. Yeah, Keenan Wynn, yeah, absolutely. It did inspire the Wacky Races. But yeah, so I'm glad I got a copy of that. $2. Totally worth it. Now, this one I didn't have a copy of. And I'm a bit surprised I didn't have a copy of. Again, $2. I think I got this at Savers, which is a charity shop which is attached to Diabetes Australia, the diabetes charity here in Australia. Peter Falk, best Peter Falk role in a movie. He gets to sing a song in Robin and the Seven Hoods with Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and Bing Crosby. Worth watching Robin and the Seven Hoods just to see Peter Falk sing. But this one, again, $2. Cube, the Canadian movie. Is it Vincenzo Di Natale? Let me think. Go look at this in a different light here. Yeah, Vincenzo Natale. Cube. Nice little horror film. Great concept. Yes, this does have David Hewitt in it. Billy Wilder, Paris When It Sizzles. George Axelrod. It wasn't actually Billy Wilder. But yeah, Fedora I've got a copy of, which is it is a companion piece to Sunset Boulevard, but Fedora is a very, very weird movie. And creepy as hell, based on a Thomas Tryon novella as well. In Robin and the Seven Hoods, does Falk's character have one eye? All of Falk's characters have one eye. He lost his eye when he was a teenager. Have I seen the Japanese remake of Cube? No, I haven't, but getting this original one. And I'm a big fan of Vincenzo Natali's work. I'm glad I got a copy of Cube. And again, $1.99. Yeah, Peter Falk in Wings of Desire. He was in Wings of Desire, absolutely. And he was very good in that. There are 4 Cube films. I've seen the second one. I'm not inclined to watch more Cube films, but I do like the first one. I haven't seen this one for a long time. So I'm going to dive in and watch that as well. It's got an audio commentary with the director, deleted scenes, production art, storyboards, and a trailer for $2. You gotta love that. Now this one I bought for one of the 3 movies. They're all on 3 discs. It's a 3-disc movie set. How much did I pay for this? $4. You got to guess which movie I bought this 3-box set for. It's got On Golden Pond, The Graduate, and Out of Africa. I picked up that for $4 at a very odd little thrift store down in the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne. Yeah, Wim Wenders had him ad lib a lot of his dialogue. Absolutely, Peter Falk. I should do an episode about Peter Falk at some stage because I love Peter Falk. But I got this one now this one got an award. Out of Africa got an award, a very unusual award. Joe Bob Briggs gave it an award because it's the only movie in history where Klaus Maria Brandau gives Meryl Streep syphilis. So I got an award for that. On Golden Pond, I'm not that fond of, but I got it for The Graduate because I picked it up for $4 so that I could have a copy of The Graduate and reevaluate that film because I haven't seen it for a long time. I like the concept. I like the way it kind of eviscerates middle class America of the era. And if I can get a copy of it on DVD for $4 with a couple other films thrown in, absolutely. On Golden Pond was filmed near where I live in New Hampshire, Jackass. Oh, cool. I could never live in a place like New Hampshire. Any place where it snows too much would really piss me off. Here's to you, Mrs. Robin. Yeah. The Graduate is just such fun. Breakout film for Dustin Hoffman. And for $4, gotta love that stuff. So I picked up that. Now I picked up a copy of a John. I'm getting into the Blu-rays. I actually picked up some Blu-rays as well as DVDs at the. I hate snow. I mean, any place where if you sleep outside you're going to die is not good. Out of Africa's boring music is for another film we do. Little Big Man I like. Little Big Man's a lot of fun. Fantastic makeup. The Dick Smith makeup's fantastic in that. I talked about the 1946 Beauty and the Beast movie. I did see. Is that the Cocteau one with Jean Marais? Because that one is fantastic. Who wouldn't be intimidated by Anne Bancroft? I wouldn't. I'd go there, but I wouldn't. But yeah, so I picked up Hondo with John Wayne for $3. Haven't seen it. I know it's John Wayne Western, so I may well pop it on at some stage. But Blu-ray for $3 is definitely a good buy. There's a few special features. Introduction with Leonard Maltin. Commentary by Leonard Maltin and a couple of other people. Making of. And a few other things. So, yeah, I thought I'd just pick that one up and give it a go. Because it was there, and if I didn't, somebody else was. Now, I don't have enough Scorsese movies as well. That's the other thing, is I don't have enough Martin Scorsese films. And this is a later era Martin Scorsese film. With Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson, and Mark Wahlberg. The Departed. Based on a Hong Kong film. Hondo was a 3D film. Didn't know that. What do you need a 3D John Wayne film? He was never more than 2-dimensional in any of his movies. But yeah, the Departed I picked up. I want to kind of do a compare and contrast with the original one. But if I slept outside and wherever you wouldn't be in love by mozzies, you can always put on some Airguard, some mosquito spray, not a problem. I could sleep outside in the backyard and I might be bitten by a few, but I wouldn't be eaten alive. We've had a lot of wet weather lately, so there's a possibility that we're getting a lot more mosquitoes. But yeah, glad I got a copy of The Departed. How much I paid for this one? $4. Again, $4 for a Martin Scorsese film. You're going to go with that? And we're getting drops here. Yeah, Mr. T.S. James, yeah. On the snow theme, The Abominable Snowman, Peter Cushing and Forrest Tucker was great. Yeah, Nigel Neal script, fantastic movie. Low budget as hell, but it really does work. And it's got that nice, it lands that ending beautifully as well. I like what it does with that. But let's see. Now, I have some Star Trek movies on Blu-ray. First Man in the Moon, I've got a good Blu-ray of recently, and I'm glad I got that. But this one was only a couple of bucks. I think it was like $3. Star Trek Insurrection. It's got the Next Generation cast in it. Picked it up because it was only a couple of bucks. Yeah, Neil's fantastic. Yeah. So I picked up Star Trek Insurrection. I'll rewatch it. Don't remember anything about it apart from the fact it's a Star Trek movie. But I thought I'd give it a go, and at the price, it's one of those ones where you're going to give it a go. Then I actually picked up a DVD of this one on a previous haul through the thrift stores, and the Insurrection was when the franchise started getting bad. Yep. Star Trek feature-length episode. Absolutely, I've seen the Stone Tape. Friday, absolutely, I've seen the Stone Tape. Stone Tape is really solid, but this one I picked up a DVD of, and I saw it on Blu-ray, and I thought I'll get it. So Solomon Kane with James Purefoy, based on the Robert E. Howard stories. This is a solid kind of sword and sorcery film. Really underrated, and I don't know why. Maybe because it wasn't made by a major studio. But yeah, this one, it's got Pete Postlethwaite in it as well. Builds its atmosphere and builds its character really well. And I like it so much as an action film. And I think that it gets the character right. And I read the stories back in the day. There were some really cheap paperbacks that came out here in Australia of Robert E. Howard stories. Buy Stone Tape for £5 in the UK. Yeah. What was that sound? That sounds like a coin dropping in the background. It's my oil heater behind me. It's a little bit cold today, which is ridiculous because it's summer. But I've got an oil heater on in the background. But yeah, it was only a couple of bucks, and so I picked up a copy of Solomon Kane. If you haven't seen it and you're into sword and sorcery, you should check out this film. And the last one I got, which I picked up again dead cheap, it was like $6, which is more than I usually pay for Blu-rays, but I've got it anyway. Yeah, Solomon Kane was a really good movie. I don't know what happened, why it flopped. Yeah, it's kind of colder than it needs to be this time of year. Well, it should be up in the 20s, but we're getting temperatures like 10 or 11. Here's the reason why it's cold here in Australia at the moment. I'll give you the meteorology lesson. We've got La Nina, which is it makes Australian summers wetter and cooler than they normally are. Plus, about 8 or 9 months ago, a really big undersea volcano went off near Tonga or Samoa in the Pacific. And it threw a lot of water into the atmosphere in the southern hemisphere. Tsunamis all over Samoa or Tonga. I'm not sure which one of the two. And thanks, Brian. Thanks for joining us. And so we got this crazy, cool, and wet last 6 or 8 months. And it's pissing me off because I'm a summer guy. I love my summer. I love really hot summers. And really kind of cool, nice weather like that. I can take it up to 40 degrees centigrade and still be more or less comfortable. We haven't got anything above about 28 one day this summer so far. And that's the reason why. But yeah, last movie, The Adjustment Bureau, which I kind of like. It's a little bit Philip K. Dick, um, surrealistic kind of action thing. Emily Blunt, Matt Damon. Not a bad film. Um, I'm going to rewatch that one because I haven't seen it. It says it's Bourne meets Inception, which kind of dates it as a title, really. But yeah, I picked that one up. Let me see. It's got a DVD, it's got the Blu-ray, and it's got a digital copy, which is probably being used already. But yeah, I picked up that one pretty cheap because I've kind of been circling around rewatching the film, and then I saw it in the op shop. Hopefully that cough went away. Yeah, it is. Bonus of being cold is I can switch this fridge off and it's warmer in the fridge than in the kitchen. I can't stand the idea of spending months and months with snow all over the place and deathly cold outside. It's just not me. It's raining now, says Jackass in Washington. Yeah, I like Washington. I went to Seattle once upon a time in 1998. Love the Pacific Northwest. Fantastic area. But I went in summertime, so yeah. But anyway, this op shop I went to a charity store. Try to get the picture up on my phone to show you what kind of charity store it was because it's bloody nightmarish. Okay, we'll get that. Again, this is fascinating for everybody watching. No, I didn't get it on my phone. But I'll show you this other thing, which is all those copies of Bridget Jones's diary in this one op shop. It was crazy. And tons of copies of Knocked Up. But anyway, I go into this obscure little charity store in a kind of underprivileged suburb. And yeah, the roof is rusty. It's a charity store attached to some obscure little church. And I walk in there, and immediately the vibe is wrong. Immediately, I kind of go, this place feels weird. It's a badly laid out charity store. And about 1/3 of the charity store is blocked off as an area for the people who work in the charity store to have the cup of tea in their lunchroom. And so there's nobody in the charity store, but I hear behind the barrier these two ladies, they're complaining about everything. They work in the store, but they're complaining. They're complaining about how much lunch cost, how the weather was crap, how one of their mutual friends was an asshole, but they didn't say asshole. And I go up to the DVD and Blu-ray shelves, and they're all like $10 each, which is way over the odds for a charity store. And I kind of look around, I'm looking through the shelves, and I'm hearing these two people drone on, being incredibly miserable and not kind of enjoying themselves at all in their lives. And it sucked the life out of me. Just 6 minutes in that store, I think it was, drained me like crazily. I was like, I walked out of it. It was like they were emotional vampires, just sucking the life out of people. And it was a weird feeling. And I'm never going there again. Normally, I can kind of shake off the vibe of a place pretty well, but this place just drained me. It was supernaturally a bummer. Yeah, they had too much time on their hands. Absolutely. In the 70s and raining here in Texas, it should be somewhere in the 40-degree Fahrenheit range. Yeah, that climate change is real, and global climate change is messing everywhere up. But yeah, have I seen The Nines with Ryan Reynolds? Really good science fiction. Nope. Can you write that one down for me as well, please, middle-aged geek girl? The Nines with Ryan Reynolds, because I will check it out because I'm looking for more science fiction content for the channel. Always happen to. Colin Wilson did a book about something like that, made it into a so-so film. Yeah, that place. If I was a psychopath, which most of the time I'm not, I would burn that op shop to the ground. Not when there's anybody in it, but I think it's something that needs to be razed to the ground and bulldozed and turned into a place that does really good coffee. We get smoked out with smoking the long fire. Susan Jacker says, "Yeah, well, half of Australia, like a few years ago, was on fire, and we had smoke pollution badly across the whole continent. In fact, it went around the world twice. So yeah, bushfire smoke. There was 2009, 2011, when up in the hills east of Melbourne, like 200 odd people died in bushfires. So we get a lot of that stuff. It's we get floods, we get droughts, we get conservative governments, we get all sorts of natural disasters. It's a really problem here, but at the moment it's unusually wet. But they tell me it's going to dry out in January and February. Yep, some charity shops are born bad. Yeah, it's there are some nice ones too. I mean, I've been in charity shops where everybody's been friendly and nice, and they've had groovy stuff. Savers here tends to be that the diabetes charity shops. Really solid, really good. Um, Now, middle-aged geek girl is going to tell me whether we should end the live stream soon or not. Smoke all the way to Chicago. So I'm not into Christmas films. I actually did something for the radio. My friend Lisa Pellegrino, who works for ABC Radio as a presenter, sent me a text message unexpectedly and said, "Do you want to talk about Christmas films?" So I did some. I did unusual Christmas films. I did the Die Hards. I did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I did Elf. I did a few ones, but well, human beings are naturally so. Conservative governments are natural disasters. Yeah, but up to me because of the glitches, middle-aged Google. We'll give it another 5 or 10 minutes or so on the live stream. But yeah, what was I talking about? I'm going off track here, but that's okay. We'll just have a chat. Are there any upcoming movies people are looking forward to? Keith, if it's gone 1 a.m. here, but you're still alive, good. Proof of life is good, Keith. We like that. But yeah, so the rest of the weekend I'm going to be doing weird things. I do want to try to, and I haven't told middle-aged girl this, and she's going to get really upset. But I want to do a 24-hour movie marathon again before the end of the year, and I'm kind of tossing up a few concepts. One of which is 24 hours of Christmas movies, including Die Hard. Second, strange favorite uncanny movies. Zapruder tape. I don't know. I'll have to think about one, Noel. But yeah, here's the ideas for the 24 hours live, 24-hour movie marathon. One is Christmas movies. One is movies I hate. One is bad movies. So I've got those three ideas basically. So I'm doing that the way the Germans do it in Inglourious Bastards. See, look what the middle-aged good girl did. That's not a Hillsong hat. That is a special Hillsong hat. It's got an E in it. And a guy called Dan Illich made the Hillsong hats and got a cease and desist order from Hillsong just after I bought it. So only about 3 of them went out to people. And I got one of the 3 before Hillsong did a cease and desist on the Hillsong hats. But what Christmas movies include Scrooged and Muppet Christmas Carol. Looking forward to some new horror movies. I hear good things. I haven't watched enough Shudder lately. I've got Shudder as one of my services, but I haven't watched it. But I'm hearing some really good. Define bad movies. Movies that make me kind of throw up in the back of my mouth, like certain live-action Disney movies from the 1960s. But all the Christmas Carol movies, no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, the Hillsong hat is great, and the thing is, I can wear it around, and conservative old ladies think it says Hillsong, but people who look at it closely smile. But yeah, it's one of my favorite hats. Damien, see you later. You got to go work the lorry. Take care, mate. Thank you again for the support of the channel and for being in the live stream. And if I don't talk to you before then, have a great holiday season. And Damien's in Western Australia, so he's like 3 hours behind us, so it's like 9 a.m. where he is. But yeah, so I love my Hillsong hat because it's a rare hat. I've also got other hats here. I've got like my ABC Radio Darwin hat and a few others around. I'm hanging the hats up on this hook above, on a bookshelf above the desk here. And Luna keeps coming in and knocking the hats off. Favorite Christmas movie: The Bishop's Wife with Cary Grant and David Niven. Oddly enough, here's the thing with me in Christmas movies. It's a Wonderful Life. Discuss why it sucks. I will. Here's my thing with Christmas movies. I don't like religion in Christmas movies. I like secular stuff in Christmas movies. It's part of my character that that stuff doesn't agree with me. So the minute they bring in angels, the minute they bring in kind of priests and nuns and stuff like that, I'm out. Nightmare Before Christmas is middle-aged geek girl's favorite Christmas movie. That's because she's got 55 Jack Skellingtons and a whole bunch of Sally dolls and Sally figures in the collection. Never seen It's a Wonderful Life all the way through. Yeah, one of the things that pisses me off about It's a Wonderful Life is the evil banker steals thousands of dollars and potentially ruins the entire town and gets away with it. What kind of lesson is that sending to people? Christmas Carol with George C. Scott. I won't watch a George C. Scott movie because he beat up women. If you want to see a Scrooge movie, you want to see a Christmas Carol movie that's good, go with the Alastair Sim one from 1951 because the joyousness of his Ebenezer Scrooge when he has his epiphany is one of the marvelous moments in Christmas cinema. But I won't watch a George C. Scott film again because it's where I draw a line. Yep, Alastair Sim, best Scrooge ever. Albert Finney one was a musical. I haven't seen that one since I was a kid. And yeah, Frank Capra was a big fan of Mussolini. He wasn't during the war because there's a series of documentaries that I've got on DVD called Why We Fight, which Capra was one of the people who went to film the documentaries. A whole bunch of other directors, John Ford did it, and a number of other directors who went out and did documentaries about the war during the war. Muppet Christmas Carol, yeah, middle-aged geek girl is a big Muppet fan, which is probably why she's married to me. But yeah, there are any number of them. But yeah, I like Die Hard, I like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, I like The Long Kiss Goodnight. They're my kind of Christmas movies. Sim is really good and everything. Absolutely. The Green Man, there's a movie called The Green Man, which you should check out with Alistair Sim in it, which I like a lot. A little murder mystery thing. But yeah, so it sounds like I'm going to have to, before the end of the month, do a 24-hour watching of various kinds of Christmas movies. It's a Wonderful Life, a film about the death of hope. Yeah, On Her Majesty's Secret Service is a Christmas movie. I could add that to my Christmas movie list. Need to fish out my Centrinians box set. Love the old Centrinians movies. The new one, the reboots, I don't like. But yeah, I mean, George Cole playing Flash Harry. I like the Centrinians movies. They're transgressive by modern standards. Like teenage schoolgirls basically being courtesans is probably not something that's going to fly very well in the modern era. But I like the fact that everything was a scam in a Centrinians movie. School for Scoundrels, yep. Which is pretty much any private school in where privileged people go to in any country in the world. So, Yale, Oxford, Geelong Grammar School here in Australia, they're all schools for scoundrels. They teach people to be assholes. Which is odd because, like, there was a special school for scoundrels. No, private schools are scoundrels. Gremlins could work, yeah. Gremlins is a Christmas movie as well. There are any number of them, so I'm going to have to dig out my list and put together, usually in a 24-hour period, I can squeeze in about a dozen films. Usually I've got about 15 lined up in case something goes wrong or a disc glitches or something like that. But I'm really going to have to sweet talk middle-aged geek girl into letting me do a 24-hour thing. End of Days, yep, that would be a Christmas film. 5 more minutes. We'll finish at 12:15. Yeah, sounds right. Thank you very much for being my timekeeper. Middle-aged Geek Girl does a lot of stuff behind the scenes to keep these live streams working. Seen Cash on Demand with Peter Cushing? Yeah, it's in my. I did a video about Hammer Hidden Gems, and Cash on Demand was in that. Love the Muppets. Love the original series. That episode where Miss Piggy finds out they're all going to at the end of the week was hilarious. Yeah, she's definitely a Muppet fan because I think we've got the Muppet Show, the old Muppet Show episodes on DVD as well. A lot of stuff in the back room in the TV shelves of the DVDs. One thing I want to do too is I've got a whole bunch of the imprint movies that I picked up this year on Blu-ray, and I want to go through the ones I haven't seen yet. There are a number of them, but yeah. Okay, Jack, I'll let you go. Been fun. Take care, mate. Have a great holiday season. Stay warm. But yeah, so I think I will end it here because my throat is starting to give out, and that's never a good sign. Because every time you talk to anybody, they think you've got corona. But yeah, so I will end it here. So just to finalize everything, thanks a lot for being part of the channel. If you want to, you can support the channel by donating at patreon.com/patio cinema. Leave a like and a comment if you want to on the video when I put together. I'm going to paste together the 2 live streams that I did and make a cohesive whole out of them because of those glitches that happened. So that's my project for probably tomorrow. But anyway, thanks a lot for being a part of this. And thanks to everybody who subscribes to the channel or even just watches it casually. Though I love the people who subscribe a little bit more than I love the people who watch it casually. So watch some good movies and watch some bad movies. And thanks again to everybody on the chat. It really makes it a different experience doing a live stream to have the chat there and to have kind of live interactions with people because most of the time it's just me talking at a glass lens and I've got to make that work. And I hope I do it well. But anyway, look after yourselves, guys, and I will end the stream here. And thanks again to Middle Aged Geek Girl, who is the champion of the channel.